All right, Jack, welcome to the show. How are we doing tonight?
Doing good. Thanks for having me on.
Yes, no doubt. We are excited, man. First guest from the University of Notre Dame. And with that, I want to start with a little icebreaker before we jump into your backstory. Looking through the photos that your team has on Instagram, seeing the uniforms, I mean, y'all got some sweet uniforms. You got the green, the blue, the gray, the white. But I don't know if you've seen those graphics, those memes where it says you got to start one, sit one, and cut one. And so with that, with the green, the blue, and the gray jerseys. You got to start one, sit one, and cut one. What are we doing?
All right, I'm gonna start the blue jersey. Those are my favorite. I feel like those are always a good look. I'm gonna sit the gray jersey, classic baseball look, and I'm gonna bench the all greens.
Oh, the
Mhm.
greens.
It's hit or miss. It's hit or miss. A lot of people love them. Some people hate them. It's the first time you throw them on, you kind of look down and you're like, I really have green pants on right now. Like, all right, here we go. Let's go play some baseball.
Now, notice I didn't put the jersey vest on there because I know that most guys and fans, for that matter, aren't a big fan of them. Are you a fan of those?
Oh yeah, I love the vest. I feel like it's a good look. It's kind of more of a throwback at this point. So when we found out we were getting those, we were all fired up. We were excited. So all the guys love those. Those are great.
Nice. So you're opting out of the traditional green color and going with more of a new modern look. I gotta ask the blue jerseys. What's on the sleeves? I know it's not like, to me it looks like Moana, but I know that's not like tribal or anything. It's probably something Irish, I would imagine, or Catholic, or like what is it that's on the sleeves?
So that is a pattern from the Golden Dome on campus. They kind of used that a couple of years ago in a football jersey when they did the Shamrock series, and then they kind of brought it across the rest of the sports and they threw it on the sleeves. So kind of a small touch that kind of pays tribute to the university, and not a lot of people know about it.
That's a sweet little touch, man. I'm glad I asked, but man, let's get into this. Let's talk a little bit. Take me back. Obviously, you've had a storied career up until this point, but we need to know where you're from and what are the family dynamics like as a kid growing up.
Yeah, so I grew up in Orland Park, Illinois. It's about 45 minutes south of the city of Chicago. I grew up with one older brother and two younger brothers, so super competitive household, and that's kind of where I get a lot of my competitive edge that you kind of see when you watch me play. And I feel like that's kind of how I got into sports in the first place, was just kind of playing in the backyard and in the basement with my brothers. And my older brother always played sports, so kind of got thrown in there with him. And I was pretty athletic as a kid, so got moved up 2 years. He's 2 years older than me, so kind of got pushed from a young age to kind of compete with the older players. And I feel like that's kind of what has helped me throughout my career.
It, if someone was to ask you, all right, and I'm going to ask you, so who is the most athletic of the three of you guys? Who's the most athletic? And I mean, obviously there's ages, but like, let's say, growing up in the house, you're playing up, like, are you exceeding expectations, or are you kind of like, yeah, I'm learning a little bit, I'm not quite as good as my older brother, but I'm somewhere getting close? Or were you head and shoulders like the guy?
I'm not going to say I was the guy. Obviously, there's the age gap, but it was always kind of closer than my older brother would like, and I always kind of felt like I was right there, but always ended up on the losing end. So he kind of had me for a while, and then once it became my time where I could take him, the games kind of just stopped. Believe it or not. So kind of just stopped playing once I could beat him. But yeah, I'd say it was all pretty even. There's actually four of us, so kind of go two and two, and you try to make it fair. And they were always pretty close, and we were kids, so someone always ended up crying, and that's just the way it goes.
You're like a house full of boys, there's somebody's gonna cry, somebody's feelings are getting hurt.
It's four boys. Everyone's playing sports. It at the end of the day, someone's going to be upset, or someone's going to take it a little too far, and someone's going to get hurt. So my parents unfortunately had to deal with that, but I feel like it's kind of shaped us into who we are today. So made it
Absolutely.
through.
Absolutely, man. So, obviously, we talk to a lot of athletes and they have some similar stories about playing up, or not necessarily trying to keep up with an older sibling, but just they had the opportunity to play at a higher level than maybe their age, would put them in. And everyone ends up being this elite athlete, obviously with the mix of your brothers. Was that the fuel, or was the fact that, you had dad and granddad that were athletes at Notre Dame, that there was this pressure to be better than, you know, your brothers, or to be better than them, or just to be an elite athlete?
Yeah, and I think it's kind of the competition in between brothers that just wanted to, do something better than your older brother did. And originally when I was playing with my older brother, I was always kind of trying to keep up and trying to belong with, kids that were 2 years older than you. So it kind of started as that, and then as you start to get older, you kind of compete to, be better than your brother was at the same age. So I feel like that was kind of the motivation that kind of pushed all four of us to, kind of be better.
Yeah, man. The way I picture it, I mean, and you can correct me if I'm wrong. It's like I feel like your house was everything was a competition, whether it was, taking a shower the fastest, or eating dinner the fastest, or to get out of the house the fastest, whatever the case may be. I feel like every little thing was just, set up for you guys to try to outdo one another.
Oh yeah, it was always a competition. It was, first one in the shower, first one to finish, first one to, drink all the milk at dinner or whatever it was. So like you said, it was always a competition.
And that's awesome, man. So obviously the competition is fueled in the house within the family, but like, was baseball the only sport, or did you guys play multiple sports growing up?
So when we were kids, we all played soccer, baseball, and basketball. And then kind of as we got older, we kind of started to play football a little bit. And then I think like seventh and eighth grade ended up playing volleyball, and now my youngest brother plays volleyball. So he kind of got dragged along to quite a few baseball games when he was younger, and decided he didn't want to play that. So he got into volleyball, and I think all my brothers actually ended up playing volleyball as well, kind of like sixth, seventh, eighth grade.
So do you think, I mean, this is a great question for you, because um you kind of lived it. You played a lot of different sports. Do you feel like that bettered you as an athlete, preparing you for, obviously you're an elite level athlete in baseball, but did playing multiple sports and having the ability to rest, or like craft your talents in other areas, prepare you to be the best in this sport? Or do you think that, given the opportunity, just playing one sport all the way through would have been more beneficial?
I think when you're young, I think as a kid, it's beneficial to play a lot of sports. I think that, a lot of times you're just kind of in the backyard or in the neighborhood with other kids, and you want to be pretty good at all the sports. You don't really want to be super good at one and not as good at the other. So I think that as a kid, it's important to play a lot. It, keeps you busy, gives you something to do, and it's beneficial because when you're a kid, there's no kind of straight line of, this is what you're going to do, and then you're going to be good at this sport. You don't really know what sport's going to be, your best sport until you start to get older. So I didn't start to focus on baseball strictly until my freshman year of high school. So I really enjoyed playing a lot of sports when I was a kid, and when it was time to focus on baseball, it was, that was kind of my decision and something that I really wanted to do.
Jack, the honest question I got for you is every baseball player said they played basketball at one point. We've had a couple that have been honest, a lot of them that have lied. Were you any good, or was it just a rough go?
I'm not very good at basketball. I can be honest with that. That is definitely not my top sport.
He played good defense though.
Oh yeah, you got to run around a little bit, kind of be a nuisance, but on the offensive side, it gets rough. A lot of bricks, unfortunately.
Hey, at least you're honest. We get guys on here all the time that say they hooped and they did this one time, and like, then it's like, well, they're still as good as they ever were, if not better, which is just lies. They get on here and lie right to our face, man. It's
Yeah,
crazy.
you try to make yourself look tough, but I can be honest. I'm not that good at basketball.
So, you mentioned, getting, not starting baseball until high school, which is kind of a segue into what Randy's going to talk to you about. But before, he gets into that, obviously playing a lot of different sports, trying a bunch of different things. Like, who was your go-to athlete? Like, who was your favorite athlete? Was it a baseball player? Was it a basketball player? Like who are you looking up to during this time as a kid?
As a kid, my favorite athlete was always kind of Devin Hester, the Chicago Bears, kind of at the time when he was returning kicks and punts basically every weekend. It was, always a blast to watch. So, I kind of always kind of gravitated towards him. And then it was always kind of season by season. When you're playing baseball, you're interested in the baseball. When you're playing football, you're interested in football. And when you're playing basketball, you're interested in basketball. So it kind of ebbed and flowed, and kind of just whoever was hot in Chicago at the time. There was, the Derrick Rose era was a blast. Kind of started really liking him, and the injuries happened, and so I feel like that was kind of the story of my childhood, was kind of bouncing from sport to sport, and then finally picking one and picking baseball.
We know a little bit about Derrick Rose, Jack. He actually played college in Memphis, where we're all from.
Oh yeah.
But he, obviously growing up in Chicago, but for high school, for you, tell everybody, what high school did you attend?
So I went to Marist High School. It's on the south side of Chicago.
A South Sider, eh? No, you don't claim yourself as a South Sider, do you? What side do you fall on here?
I am technically considered a South Sider. All my friends would try to say that I'm South Suburbs and they're South Side. But I am a Sox fan, so I would fall into the South Side there. But I do live in the South Suburbs of Chicago. I can admit that.
I understand. So Marist High School, who's the most notable alum of Marist besides Jack Brannigan?
Let me think. There's been a lot of good college players come out of Marist. There was an old tight end at Notre Dame a couple of years, Nick Wisher. Was probably the most recent guy.
So I'm doing some research, Jack, and I looked it up, and you might not even know who this is. I don't know how you listen to rock music, but Dan Donegan, the Disturbed guitarist, he went to Marist. Did you even know that?
I actually did know that. His daughter, I think, was a freshman when I was a senior, and my parents brought it up because they were a little bit more familiar with Disturbed than I was. But I actually do remember that.
I had to look it up. He was class of '86, which made me feel really old. But anyways, let's get into the academics here. Guys, obviously here, we appreciate an athlete that's not only good on the field, but also good in academics. I noticed here, Jack, National Honor Society and Spanish Honor Society member. What drove you on academics? Are you guys, you said your brothers were super competitive. Did you also compete on who could make the highest grades, SAT scores, all that stuff too?
That was more my mom. My mom was always kind of, you bring the report card home, and you're like, yeah, Mom, I got 5 A's and 1 B. And she would say, why'd you get a B? Yep, that was my mom's thing. And, my dad went to Notre Dame. So the both of them always kind of pushed it. And like you said, a little bit of competition, but it was never really too much, kind of always different with the different grades and stuff. But my parents really pushed us to focus academically, and that was their big thing.
What a mic drop, Jack, to your brothers when you go, you know what? Not only am I going to be good in one language, I'm going to be good in 2.
All my brothers were actually pretty good in Spanish. They all, we actually hosted some Spanish exchange students, and so they all kind of started to pick up Spanish. So, at this point, we're all not very good at it. It's been a couple of years removed, but every once in a while, they like to throw in the Spanish.
So I see that you're a finance major. That's my kind of thing. The only thing I like about finances is money, though, Jack. Don't give me decimals and all that, unless it's got dollars and cents by it. But what kind of drove you to pick finance as your major?
Yeah, so kind of as I started picking major, was kind of thinking business school. That was kind of the most popular one for a lot of people I was talking to. And, I kind of wanted to go into architecture. I've always kind of been interested in that stuff. But at Notre Dame, it's a 5-year program, and you have to study abroad for one of the years in Rome. So that kind of got crossed off the table. And so then it was kind of picking something else from there. And I was always pretty good at math. So kind of wound up with finance.
I understand.
You imagine Randy telling your baseball coach, I'm going to need a season off. I'm going to go study in Rome.
I'm going to be in Rome, guys.
Yeah, exactly. That was kind of the thing. They're like, yeah, you can pick any major except architecture because, we can't be giving you a whole year off. I said, well, all right.
All right. I guess I'll be finance then.
Exactly.
So, Jack, as we're doing research on kind of, high school baseball in your area, notice that you played against your fellow Irish teammates, Aiden Tyrell and Casey Comet. Is it Met? How do you pronounce that? Comet. I see. I said it right. So obviously we see something like that, and we got to think that baseball in your area has got to just be stacked with talent. Is that true?
Oh yeah, there's a lot of great players over here. Kind of the Chicago Catholic League and the East Suburban Catholic Conference always kind of have a lot of good players. Actually, one of the guys at my rival high school was the left fielder for Oklahoma this year in the College World Series, Kendall Pettis.
Oh, well, yeah, we're fully aware of that one. Let's run a couple of these accolades, Jack. You're talking about the great players you played against. They're telling the same story on a different podcast. So you earned first team PBR All-State, first team Daily Southtown All-Area, 430 batting average, 36 runs, 14 doubles, 2 triples, 3 home runs, 4-2 record, 1.55 ERA, 53 Ks during your senior year. And I'm not done. 3-time regional championship, 1-time sectional champion, ESCC all-conference team in 2018. So I hear
that for data.
Take that for data. I mean, I'm running through all of these accolades. It sounds like high school was not, it was just a blast for you, right? But if you could just pick out like one moment or 1 year, 1 season, 1 game, 1 series, what's that one thing for you, Jack?
So my senior year, we had a really good team. So it's tough to pick just one game, but we played one game at Wrigley Field my senior year. Actually started on the mound in that one. So that was really cool. And then we also went down to North Carolina. It was like USA baseball training facility.
Yeah.
They had their high school tournament down there. So we also got selected for that. And then we had a pretty good run through the playoffs. So senior year was a blast, a lot of fun. We had a lot of good players on the team and, great guys as well. So that was a lot of fun.
So obviously recently, I saw you play a little too well on third base, but I noticed that all these pitching stats, I got to ask you, what do you enjoy more, being on the mound or being in the field?
So I've played the field my whole life. I actually didn't start pitching until my junior year of high school. So kind of have a slight bias towards being a position player right now. And, obviously it's always fun when you get to hit. So
you weren't soft like other pitchers that I know that just do PO, right? I mean, because I
no,
know some guys
I
like
was
that.
never a PO. No, I was never a PO. I was always kind of position player first, and then kind of just picked up the pitching because I had a pretty good arm.
That's unacceptable, Randy.
Oh, sorry. I wasn't talking about you, DB. I was talking about this other guy. So obviously the next question was going to be, what was your favorite team? But it sounds like, not to knock any of those other guys, but your senior year, that's probably your favorite year, favorite team.
Yeah, it's probably my favorite team, and a lot of good teams. It was a lot of fun, but yeah, probably the senior year team was probably my favorite.
We talked about it, Jack. So your dad, your uncle, your grandfather, they all go to Notre Dame. Was there ever a chance you weren't going to go to Notre Dame?
So there was. My parents always liked to say that they wanted me to look elsewhere and kind of try to take the Notre Dame bias out of it, especially my mom. My mom likes to say that I was brainwashed from basically out of the womb. So we took the visit to Notre Dame, and obviously I'd been there before, and I didn't really know what to expect, kind of got the offer there. And obviously was excited about that. But the next weekend, we actually went out to some Ivy League schools, and my mom was kind of reminding me the whole week, like, make sure you really pay attention. Like, don't just think it's all Notre Dame, it's all Notre Dame. Kind of went out there, and, I was like, hey, Mom, like, I think I got to go to Notre Dame. And I told my dad, and he was like, super excited about it. Obviously, the whole family. So they like to say that there was a chance, and who knows if the recruiting process would have gone a different way, maybe. But kind of all just worked out where I ended up at Notre Dame.
But would your uncle and grandfather, would they have like disowned you? Would you have still been in the family if you picked like USC or something?
Jack
don't know,
would have been eating Thanksgiving dinner alone
at the kiddie table.
Yeah, right. They've got these little rivalries with these schools from football, so it probably couldn't have been one of those. But I think that there was a select list where we're okay with those schools where I could still be invited to Thanksgiving.
Yeah, well, the irony of you saying you at least made the visit, we just had a discussion right before you came on about guests that we have that they'll go to that first school and then they like it so much they don't take the other visits. And it's like, why not take the visit, check it out, see what it's about? And so the idea that even though you were pretty sure it was Notre Dame, but you still went and checked out the other schools, I like that because, at least go check it out, see what it's about. You never know what might happen. But nonetheless, man, you get to campus. Are you more excited or are you more nervous?
At that point, it was all kind of excitement. It's something new. Excited to play baseball. There's a little bit of nervousness in terms of, am I going to play my freshman year? Like, what kind of role am I going to have on the team? But for the most part, it's just excitement to kind of, live out the dream of going to Notre Dame. Obviously, that's kind of, looking at my dad and my grandfather, it was always kind of a dream of mine. So kind of being able to like fulfill that dream was just a blast. And I was super excited when I got on campus, and, it all kind of worked out in my favor.
Yeah, so to tie that to the next question, you finally put on that uniform for the first time. Like, what are the emotions? We were just talking about the uniforms as the icebreaker, but whatever uniform it was you first put on, if it's that practice jersey, whatever it is, and then you step out on that field, like you're really playing for Notre Dame. I mean, what are the emotions going through your head?
Yeah, that first game, it was kind of, you look at the lineup card and saw my name on there, and it's you kind of have to remind yourself, like, I've played baseball my whole life. I shouldn't be this nervous, but it's the excitement of playing in that first college game and fulfilling that dream. So I was definitely a little bit more nervous in that moment instead of excitement. But game starts, kind of make that first play, get that first at bat, and it's you kind of, oh yeah, this is baseball. Like, I've played this game since I was 3 or 4 years old. Like, this is exactly where I want to be, and I'm excited to be here. And then at that point, it's just having fun and enjoying the game.
What if you would been at third base your first game and not get a single ball game? Would you have been nervous going to that second game?
So that actually happened. The first game, I had no ground balls. Had the at bats. The at bats kind of that settles you down for me. And then going to that second game, I like didn't even think about it. And then I got the first play, like kind of cut it in front of the shortstop a little bit and made the play. And he was like, "Hey man, like that's probably my ball, but I'm glad you got your first play out of the way." And then it kind of like dawned, thank God that wasn't the air. You kind of make that first play, and then from there on, I'm a college player. Like I can do this. It's all good.
There you go. So freshman season, man, only 13 games. Obviously, we know it was cut short by COVID, but you started all 13. Once again, you had time on the mound and in the field. What's that like now, to do both on an even higher level? It's one thing to do it in high school. I met you through Cameron James. He did both in high school, but once he got to college, pitching was, thrown away. For you, not so much, man. You were doing both. What's that like?
Yeah, so it's kind of finding the time to do both, and taking time away from one to focus on the other. And you kind of have to create that extra time to really focus on both and try to be successful at both. And my freshman year, it was kind of just kind of letting that pure talent take over, and trying not to think too much, and just trying to get that experience under your belt, because college, like you said, college is a little different than high school. You kind of have to go through it to know what to expect. So it was kind of just going out there and putting the best stuff out there, and see what happens, and then try to learn from it. That's all you can really do, is go out there and experience it, and then look back and say, this is what I did well, this is what I did poorly, and this is what I need to work on for next time. So that freshman year, it was kind of just getting used to doing both. In high school, I was a starter, so I had one day where I knew I was pitching, and then the other day I knew I didn't have a chance. But in college, it was kind of be ready for anything as a reliever. So kind of getting that first outing out there freshman year, kind of really settles the nerves, and then you're just kind of ready. You want to help the team win. So that's kind of where I was at freshman year, was just stay ready, be ready whenever your name gets called, and then go out there and try to help the team win.
So did you ever have any little league style moments where you were standing on third and then you got told you were going into pitch from there?
Oh yeah, that's basically had that my whole career at Notre Dame. So I think the first time I went in there, there was like 2 outs or maybe 1 out, and then top of the ninth, and kind of got the signal from coach, kind of like points at me. He's like, I'm like, me? Like, right now? Are you sure? I'm like, all right, like, yeah, let's do it. Kind of go in there. And it's kind of funny. The first out I got in college as a pitcher, it was first and third, and the kid stole, and the play where the catcher threw it right back to me, and it was like a rundown and tagged the kid out at third. So didn't actually get an out on the mound, but got the out. And so that was my first time on the mound. It was just straight off of third base, like just threw me in the game. And then it was like second or third pitch, the kid stole, and we got him out. So I was like, all right, there we go. I guess I can do both.
So Jack, I've always wondered this, because yes, Randy, I was a pitcher only. I was a PO.
Oh, you were?
Yeah. I'll take those daggers out of my back, but
Jack,
anyhow,
he couldn't hit, bro.
that's true. I could pitch though. I get outs. That's all that matters. So
as long as you're good at one or the other.
that's right. I always wondered this, like, when it's coming time where, it's, you might have the opportunity to get on the mound. Are you at third base, like throwing the ball a little bit different? Are you focused on like fielding ground balls and warming up, or is it like are you doing something different? Like when you're preparing at third base, knowing that you might in the middle of this inning transition from third to the mound.
Yeah, so they would always let me know. They would say, "Hey, kind of be ready. Like this is where we're thinking. Something happens. Be ready." And then it would kind of go out there for the in between innings ground balls, and it was always kind of they would let the first baseman know, and then it was throwing it over there as hard as I could to get warm and try to be ready. So that was kind of always where I was at. And a lot of times I would run down the bullpen real quick in between innings, throw a couple pitches, something like that. So, but yeah, they would let me know, and then I would go out there and kind of hum a couple fastballs over there. And, the first baseman was always a little upset about that, but, they kind of powered through it for me. So
You should created your own, like the Jack Brannigan rule, where the bullpen catcher came to third base and like you just warmed up right there, like right in between the innings.
yeah. So my coach actually played, I don't know if you guys remember Houston Street, kind of did the two-way thing over at Texas. And he said that they would have a catcher come down and go down there in the full squat, kind of like along that warning track down by the dugout. And he would just like throw a bullpen in between innings to get warm. And so my coach was always, like maybe we could try something like that. And I think that kind of got shut down this year. We did it a couple of times where the bullpen catcher would come down and I would just play catch with them a little bit. But I think that got shut down after a couple of games. I think they went back and read the rule book. They got rid of that. So
yeah, no, it was interesting this season, because I hadn't really seen much of what you went through. I don't usually see position guys. And this year for Mississippi State, they were so banged up pitching. And when I was at the games, a couple of them, Lane Forsythe, the shortstop, pitched. And so you'd watch him head from shortstop into the dugout, and you'd actually watch him run down the bullpen. And I could be wrong. I watched Lane play a lot. Reading his face, he didn't look excited that he had to leave shortstop to go pitch, but they were short on arms, so he had to do what he had to do. But on that freshman season, obviously only 13 games, but there was two key notes that I want to go to, or two games. You threw 2.2 innings or 2 2/3 of relief against North Carolina to get your first win. And then you were one of 3 Irish to record 5 RBIs in the game during the season, along with Nico Cavadas and Jack Alexander. So even with only playing 13 games, did you feel like you were successful, and did you meet your expectations in just that short time?
So for me, kind of the first 2 weekends weren't great. That first weekend, I actually didn't get my first hit until the last at bat of the weekend. So kind of going into it, like, oh man, I about to head back to school and go to class knowing that I'm 0 for the weekend, and kind of got that one, kind of makes you feel good. And then the next weekend wasn't great, but a little bit better. And then that third weekend kind of, got more comfortable out there and started to pick it up. And then that fourth weekend was against North Carolina. That was kind of where everything kind of came together. I think I had the 5 RBIs on Sunday and got the win on Saturday. So I ended on a high note. Obviously, unfortunately, got shut down after that from COVID. So, when you really break up the season, it was, didn't start great, but finished great, and felt good about it going into the next year. You don't really know what to expect as a freshman, so getting to be in there and play and starting every game was a blast. So I felt like freshman year kind of met my expectations. Wasn't anything exceptional, but wasn't terrible.
Yeah, like you said, I mean, obviously you hate that it got cut short right as you were getting things going, but it did give you something to build on and look forward to the next season, ending on a high note, like you said. So going into the next season, you played and started in all 47 games, made 6 appearances out of the bullpen on the season. Before I dive into that, Daniel or Randy, with as much college baseball as we watch, how many guys, we were just talking about, how many guys have you seen do what Jack doing? I was just thinking about it.
0.
Not me.
Not at the level that Jack did it.
That's what I'm thinking. I'm just trying to put it together, because I felt like Lane doing it was only the second guy I've known to do it to Jack. And so I was just curious if maybe I was missing it. And so tip of the cap to you, Jack, because you actually do that. So,
but Jack, do you think that's a coach's like philosophy? Is it their philosophical belief, like my position guys are my position guys and my pitchers are my pitchers? Or is that just something where if you show the talent, they're going to let you try it, and if you have some success, they're going to keep riding it?
I think it's kind of similar, like you were talking about earlier, with playing different sports. I feel like a lot of guys just kind of start to focus on one. And, they don't really did give it a chance, but I think it's kind of a coach's philosophy where, hey, am I going to let this guy go out there and try both, or am I going to force him into the whichever one I think he's better at right now? So I think that definitely got the benefit of having a coach that was willing to let me go out there and try both. And so I don't know. I feel like it's starting to get a little bit more common. There's guys that have done it, and I think that when you start every game in the field, it makes it a little different. Whereas there's guys where if they're kind of started coming as a freshman and they don't have a starting role right away, it's easier to be like, oh yeah, you're a pitcher, and then you start to develop that before you really develop the bat, and then that part kind of takes off. So I feel like it's definitely a coach's beliefs at this point.
Well, speaking of the bat, that year you had 31 runs, 51 hits, 12 doubles, 2 triples, 6 home runs, 29 RBIs, 8 steals, slashed at 295, 385, 491. On the mound, you finished with a 1-0 record with 3 saves and 4 innings pitched with 7 strikeouts. So,
take that for data.
Again, before we get into team success in the postseason, I'm going to ask the question again before we dive into specific games. Did you meet expectations that year in your mind?
No, I actually feel like I was a little bit under it that year. I felt like I could have done better on the mound. I felt like, there were some things that I needed to work on, and that was kind of the motivation that was there going into this year, and summer ball last year, and then this season. Kind of, there's things that you do well, and there's things that you do poorly. So it's kind of taking the good and the bad, and having confidence in yourself, but also knowing that there's a lot more work to be done.
I pegged you wrong. I thought that 295 batting average was what you were going to say. I thought you were going to say you needed that to be a tick higher. I know how you want to be over 300.
Yeah, no, I was hoping I could get maybe one more hit or something down there in Starkville, but ended up a little bit short.
Yeah. So before we get to Starkville, man, let's talk about, the regionals in South Bend. Postseason is so different. Obviously, every stadium can get electric on a weekend, especially if you're playing a rival or anything. But when you get to the postseason, it's just completely different. So what was that environment like in the South Bend Regional?
Oh, it was a blast. So that whole year, because of COVID, we actually only had parents and some friends in stands. So everyone got a couple tickets, and that was all we had in the regular season. So when we got to the postseason, they totally opened up. It was full capacity, and I still remember walking out of the clubhouse before that first game and looking up in the stands, and it was packed. It was kind of like such a surreal moment to look up there and finally play a game at Notre Dame in front of a full crowd. So it was awesome. It was a blast. There was people were there for all 3 games, and we did pretty well that weekend. So there's a lot for them to cheer for, and it got pretty loud. So that was a blast.
That's what I was going to ask you. I was like, is that the reason why y'all smashed everybody, because y'all had fans in the stands?
Yeah, maybe, the first time with the fans in the stands, guys had a little bit more motivation and, kind of tapped into the power a little bit more.
Yeah, no doubt. So speaking of environments, though, then you got to go to Starkville. The dude holds the most audience in, all of baseball. But you just, like I said, you ran through regionals so effortlessly. So are y'all nervous about going into Starkville at all, or are y'all just playing, with the utmost confidence?
I think we went in there with a lot of confidence. Obviously, like you said, ran through the regional, had a lot of success there. So I think at that point, it's just about continuing to stay hot and kind of playing good baseball. But everyone was pretty excited to play in front of that crowd. Obviously, Duty Noble Field is, one of the biggest stadiums in college baseball. And I think that first game actually broke an attendance record. So we were all just super excited. I don't think anyone was really nervous for it. Obviously there's a slight nerves that come with playing baseball, especially in the postseason, but I don't think anyone was really scared of the environment. It was just more excitement to get down there and play in front of that size crowd.
Yeah, that's actually right where I was going to go. You said what I was going to bring up. Y'all lost a close game in game 1, 8-9, but it was in front of that crowd of basically 15,000 people. So, even in a loss, it had to be cool to play in that atmosphere no matter what.
Oh, it was a blast. It was so cool. I just remember it was like everywhere you look, there was probably 10 to 15 rows of people minimum. You talk about the left field lounge and and the students were in right field, and then you got double deckers around down the base path. So it was just a blast. It was super cool to see everybody there. The cool thing for us was during BP, kind of like an hour and a half before the game, they would open up the gates, and it was like people were sprinting across the stadium to get those general admission seats over there in the grass. So we're kind of like taking BP, the music's going, nobody's in there. And then all of a sudden you got cowbells are going nuts, and people are sprinting in there. So that was pretty cool.
My
They
question,
giving y'all the business in BP?
So I guess the people in the outfield were kind of giving them the business a little bit, but a lot of it was kind of, what do you want to eat? We'll throw it on the grill for you.
that's what I was fixing to ask you, is did they feed you? Because they usually always feed the opposing team. They're really good about that.
Oh yeah, they fed a bunch of the guys. All of our like pitchers that were out there shagging said that everybody was super nice, and it was a blast. They were kind of, what do you want? We'll throw it on there. We'll give it to you after the game. So it was a blast.
I would have fed y'all before the game, overly fed y'all, make sure y'all were moving a little bit slower. But that's the tactic I would have went with. But y'all roll game,
yeah, right.
but y'all roll game 2, and the rubber match is on deck. Game 3 didn't go the way y'all wanted. And as we're talking about they call it the dude effect. Y'all were the best defensive team in the nation statistically, and I don't think anybody questioned that. And y'all had some miscues in that game that aren't normal. A lot of people say that crowd and that effect, and even playing in that moment on that stage, had something to do with it. Was that anything to do with it, or was it just unfortunate bad luck?
I like to think it was a little bit of bad luck. If you kind of look at it, some of them are just kind of, silly mistakes that kind of happen in baseball. I think the biggest thing for us that game was actually the heat. I don't know if any of you guys were at the game, but I think it was probably, it felt like 100, and, we were all kind of sweating. So I think a couple of those errors were kind of losing the ball or something like that. But, obviously the crowd was into it. It was a blast to play in front of it. And then, you throw in the nerves of the postseason, and obviously we ran through the regional. So that was kind of our first close game. So I don't know, you like to say that didn't have a factor. But it all kind of ties together, and, you make the errors and you lose the game, but kind of gave us the experience we needed to bounce back in game 2, felt like.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, fun note for the game. And Randy has ties to NASA, and he has recently found out they have finally found the ball that Nico smashed off Landon Sims. So
still in orbit.
So eventually they'll bring it back. I don't know where they'll store it. It's gonna be on display. We had Landon on it. He even admitted, the fact that was the first home run he had given up all season, and Nico hit it like Randy said, to the moon. Like, what was it like watching that?
So like you said, it was Landon's first home run given up. I think it was like right before that, maybe 2 pitches before. Kind of looked at one of the guys in the bench, and I was like, this guy hasn't given up any home runs. Like, we just got to try to get some guys on base, kind of make them uncomfortable and try to get these runs back somehow. And then it was like Nico hit it, and it was like everybody just kind of stopped and stared, because when you power that fastball, Landon had a great fastball, and then Nico kind of just took like one of those swings where he peered it up, and then like all you could do was stop and stare. Like, that thing flew out of the stadium. Easily the farthest home run I've ever seen in my life. I don't know if I'll ever see another one hit farther. That thing was blasted.
Yeah, and those guys have both. We've had Logan Tanner, the catcher, and Landon both on, and they both laugh about it. And of course, it's probably because they won. If they had lost on that, it might be a different story. But
then it's not funny.
Yeah, right, exactly.
But even Logan said he admired the distance from from catcher's play. He was just watching. He was like, "Man, is that thing ever going to come down?" So yeah, that thing was legit. But before I let Randy talk to you about this past season, summer ball. You played in the Cape with the Gatemen, and that's how we got connected to you through Cameron James. What's it like playing in the Cape? And the reason why I ask is me and Daniel probably watched Summer Catch 1 million times in high school, so we've always been fascinated with the Cape. So what's it like playing up there?
It was a blast. It was a lot of fun. My parents actually made me watch that movie as well before I went up there. Definitely some parts of that movie that aren't exactly accurate, but it was it's pretty close. It was cool. It was like baseball at its purest form. It was kind of the easiest way to describe it. You kind of just go out to high school type field, and there's people that are just bringing their blankets or lawn chairs, and they're kind of just sitting wherever they can, and just kind of everyone's just enjoying the game. There's not a ton of pressure. Everyone's just kind of enjoying it, trying to get better. The wins and losses matter, but at the end of the day, everyone's out there trying to get better. So it really just makes it a lot of fun. And then, you meet guys from across the country that you played throughout the year. I was a little upset that I had to play with Cameron and Callum after they got us, and then they would go on and win the national championship. So they had a little bit more bragging rights than I would have liked, but still cool to meet a lot of guys.
Well, one more thing then, since you brought up both those guys, they both struggled real bad in the Cape, and Cam admittedly said they were just tired. For you, because y'all made it almost as far. Obviously, y'all didn't make Omaha, but I mean, made it to the last game of Super Regionals. Did you feel some fatigue when you were there?
I don't know if I'd really say fatigue. I think the biggest adjustment is just kind of the atmosphere is totally different. You play at Duty Noble, and then you go play in Omaha. It's, everyone's kind of hanging on every pitch, and the crowd's into it. There's 25,000 people in Omaha and 15,000 in Starkville. And then you get out to the Cape, and, it's kind of like a couple hundred people there. It's laid back. It's a little bit more difficult to get in the game. So I think that, that was kind of the adjustment you have to make immediately. But then you're just out there enjoying it. So I don't know if I really felt a lot of fatigue. Obviously, I didn't play as many games as those guys, and they had a little bit more stress going through Omaha. So I don't know if I really felt the fatigue, but it was just a lot of fun out there.
So Jack, this season y'all played baseball and then it ended. So that's it for this season. No, I'm just kidding. So as we kind of go over some more accolades, kind of like we did for your high school, 2022 perfect game, 3rd team All-American, 2022 Statesboro Regional All-Tournament team, 291, 47 runs, 12 home runs, 46 RBIs, 2-2 record, 2 saves on 14 innings pitched with 28 Ks to just 8 walks. But more impressively to all of us was the way that you played defensively on third base, just an absolute stud there too. But I got a question for you. Just like we asked you about your previous seasons and high school and all that, was there a specific game or specific teams that you enjoyed more, and why was it Tennessee?
Well, if we're picking out a single series,
Just kidding.
Definitely the Tennessee series was a blast. Unfortunately for you.
No,
yeah, I know. A little bit different experience, but
no doubt.
We felt the same thing last year at Mississippi State, and I feel like that was kind of what really helped us this year was kind of thinking back of how we were 1 game short last year, and that was kind of the motivating factor throughout the off season and going into the season. It was, let's get back. We want to get back to the supers, and we're going to win 1 more game than we did last year. So I feel like that was kind of the goal throughout the year was just to finish it better than we did last year. And then, you kind of get the Tennessee draw, and it's obviously a big challenge. Everyone saw it on social media and whatnot. The way that their regular season went, it was impressive to watch in all facets. Obviously the home runs and the offensive power, and then, you throw in some pretty good arms as well. I got a couple first rounders over there, and, I think against us, every single one of their starters was throwing 98, and, they brought in Joyce, was pumping 102, 103 against us. So, all around that was a great team, and obviously a big challenge. And I think that the experience from last year kind of helped us to win that series.
No, I completely agree. And we talked about it on this show, as that we all felt like you guys got robbed not hosting. And it was selfishly for me, Jack. I did not want Tennessee to have to play Notre Dame in the Super Regional because of what you just said, the experience factor, being 1 game short, being in an atmosphere like Duty Noble. Obviously, Tennessee's a lot smaller stadium, but it's, still it's really it's loud, and they're on top of you and all that. But I knew you guys wouldn't be scared of that, being a more experienced team. But what I've really come to notice is that I hate the NCAA for the way that they seated everybody. So my beef is not with Notre Dame. It's with the way that everybody was seated out. I felt like you guys had a good enough season to be a host. But did you guys use that as motivation when you're going into the regionals and super regionals?
Yeah, no, I kind of agree with you there. I think that, going into that Monday, we were kind of thinking, are we going to host a super or just a regional? And then kind of comes out where we're not hosting anything. And, it's kind of that we kind of had that initial shock where it was like, we thought we had a good enough season. We felt like there were some teams, we beat some good teams, and obviously we had some tough losses, but that's kind of the way it goes for every team. So you kind of like take a step back and you're like, all right, like that's the draw we got. Can't change it now, but we just got to go out and play our best baseball. And, I think that for some guys, that was kind of the motivating factor, but I think the overriding one was kind of how last season ended down in Starkville. So I think when you combine both of those, there's a lot of motivation for a lot of people to go out there and play our best baseball, and obviously go down to Statesboro, play a couple pretty close games, kind of just grind it out down there. If you want to talk about a good environment, Statesboro was a blast. That we played them Saturday night, Georgia Southern. It was like
Good
the whole
squad.
town was there. Oh yeah, they had a great team, and like in terms of a crowd, that was probably, I think they sold out. They probably went over capacity. It was, I mean, they had the student section, it was right on top of our dugout. So I mean, that game was a blast. That was super cool atmosphere. Kind of won that game, won on Sunday, and then obviously looking at Tennessee, and you go there, that's another great atmosphere. There's people everywhere. Everyone's rooting against you, and that kind of just makes it more fun. So I think that when you throw playing on the road in there, the big thing is just everybody's rooting against you. So it's almost more fun to kind of go in there and kind of try to quiet the place down a little bit.
Hey, Randy,
No.
help me remember. Didn't Daniel pick Georgia Southern in that regional? Tell me I'm wrong. Tell me I'm
man.
wrong.
Did the PO pick Georgia Southern? I think he did.
Yes, I did.
Oh, but
That's
what?
okay. I'm sure that these guys actually probably all three of you guys probably pick Tennessee and the Supers.
Yeah,
That's true. That's a fact.
Yeah,
But,
let's
but let
Jack,
me
let's,
be clear.
let's get back. Let's get back to talking about beating Tennessee. That
No,
was,
hold on,
that was so
we'll-
much cooler.
We'll get there, but that's what actually killed me, Jack. We did our preseason Omaha 8, and I had Notre Dame and Tennessee in there. So when y'all were matched up, that killed me because y'all both couldn't make me and Randy both had you in the preseason thing. So like Randy said, he knew coming into the season, and he knew before that series started that was not who he wanted Tennessee facing.
No, but let's get back into the heartbreak that was that series for me. That was great for you. So been set up to read this off to you. Obviously, you get into that series. You guys having the experiences, you being some upperclassmen, just a bunch of grown ass men, Jack. You go in there, obviously, just like you said about Mississippi State, you're not nervous or anything like that. You're excited about the opportunity. You're not intimidated by the environment. But talk about what the team was feeling after you kind of cruise through the regional, not cruise through. You had some close games. You get through regionals because every win's a great win, especially when you can get through that series, that regional, right? You're going into Tennessee. What's the temperament of the team? Is it like you said, we're going to get one more game than we got last year? Or what's it like?
Yeah, I think that, going into it, it's, you're happy that you won a regional, but, we kind of knew that there were things that we needed to work on. I think that when you look at last year, whether it was kind of there or not, subconsciously, you're like, yeah, we just rolled through all the games. We won. I think we won every game by double digits. So you're kind of thinking no one can really stop us. But I think that going into Tennessee this year, it was, we had 3 close games that, maybe we probably should have played better. We felt like we should have played better and, should have won by a couple more runs. And so that was kind of like, it was, nice job winning the regional, but the work's not done. We got to get better in certain facets if we want to go in there and knock them off. So I think that it was kind of the temperament of the team was let's go in there and make some noise and play our best baseball and kind of see what happens.
Yeah. So game 1 against Tennessee, obviously hostile environment. You're going in there and they're, red hot, had been probably one of the best regular season college baseball teams we've seen in a long time. But you win that game, and a big reason for that was your 3-run home run. And Jim texted me when you were coming up to bat. He's like, future guests coming up. And I'm like, oh, yeah, not right now. Okay, not right now. Then you hit the 3-run bomb. But walk me through, what's the emotion like? What's the feeling like as that ball leaves your bat? And it was a no-doubter off the bat.
Yeah, so kind of go up there. I think we hit a home run in the first 3 innings. So we're kind of building a lead, but Tennessee has a great offense, so you don't really feel comfortable with any lead. So going up there, 2 outs, guys on base, I was kind of really just trying to hit something hard, and I think they were on second and third. So I was kind of just thinking about getting those runs in, and then kind of got the slider and got it. And, like you said, hit the bat. I knew it was gone right away. And it's just like pure joy of, hitting one out and continuing to build a lead. And from there, it was kind of like counting down the outs until you could finish off that game.
Yeah, obviously, it's no secret that Tennessee was a highly emotional team. But I got to ask you, are you guys in your dugout, I'm probably aware, but how in tune are you when Gilbert gets kicked out of the game, Frank Anderson gets kicked out of the game? What are you guys over there? Are you just like eating your popcorn, watching this all go down? What's going on over there?
So the initial thing was just shock. Like I kind of, whatever happens, he kind of says something, whatever. And then I saw the umpire kind of toss somebody. Did he just toss Gilbert? Like, did that really just happen? Like, it was almost just pure shock. And then from there, you're kind of just watching it like unfold, like waiting to kind of hear exactly what happened. You're kind of excited to go in the dugout and ask the catcher what he said and like kind of how that exchange went.
We know what he said.
Yeah, right. You kind of, read some lips or whatnot. But yeah, it was kind of just like pure shock in the moment. And then it was like, all right, like, how does it go from here? Like, what, is the batter out? Is he, just this game? Is it next game? And, you're kind of just trying to refocus in. But it's just like shock. Like you couldn't help but just like watch the whole thing go down and kind of just wait and see what happened.
No, absolutely. So game 2, obviously Tennessee responds like I think a lot of people thought they might at least try to respond. So they responded in a big way. Lipschitz obviously has a career day. But you guys in the same spot that you were the previous year, right? You got a rubber match coming up, SEC opponent, all that stuff. What's the message from the coaching staff to you guys?
The message was kind of like, we've been here before. We know what to expect. We felt like we played a pretty good game on Friday and, we played a pretty bad game on Saturday. So we kind of knew we just, I need to play better than we did that day. And, we felt like we had a really good team and we didn't really want this to be the last time that we played together. There was a lot of seniors and grad guys on team, like you said, a lot of old guys. So we didn't really want that to be the last game that we played. So the message was kind of just been here before. Don't make it into something bigger than it is. Just go out there and play baseball.
So we get into game 3, obviously the deciding game, and Tennessee Burns is pitching like, I mean, he's doing his thing. It's a pitch and duel. Tennessee gets a little bit of a lead, and then for a couple innings, at least for me, it kind of just felt like not a lot. There's stuff happening, but it's just kind of like punching, jabbing. Obviously, you guys hit the huge home run, take the lead, you hold on to it, and knock off the number 1 team. Tip of the cap to you. You guys definitely earned it. But my question for you, you obviously you were a stud on a little too much for me, Jack, but how long does that celebration last before you guys get back to laser focused and on to Omaha?
I think that the kind of like pure excitement lasts for a couple of days. Kind of, I think that when you get to Omaha, it's kind of like a big party. I know Jim's been there. I don't know if you guys have been there, but everyone's there. Everyone's just having a great time. So you're kind of just riding high for about a week, and then once you get into that practice on Thursday, that's when you kind of start to lock it back in, and you kind of there's always in the back of your mind like that wasn't it. You don't want that to be the last game that you win was to go to Omaha. So you're kind of always waiting to lock it back in. That there's a couple games coming up, but you're feeling good. You're riding high. You're excited to be in Omaha. It's a blast. Dream come true to go there, and so you kind of just start to tune it back in probably about a day before the next game, and then you're ready to go.
So Jack, Randy conveniently just skipped over the end of game 3. So I got a clip for you. I want to take you back. So let's listen on.
To third, Brannigan goes to second for 1. Miller to first, and Notre Dame with the upset of the year in college baseball.
My audio is not working. I can't.
Yeah. So obviously that's the last play of the game. So with that play before the ball is even hit, obviously that you got a chance to turn a double play. Are you thinking double play, or are you thinking let's just get an out? However we get it, we get it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm really just thinking an out. You're ready. If it's hit to me, I'm knowing I'm going to second. Obviously, if it's kind of a funkier ball or a slower ball, then just kind of make sure that I get one out. But I'm kind of thinking let's get this out any way we can. The guy before walked, so it was kind of like, all right, let's not make this be a last inning, a late inning comeback for Tennessee. So you're kind of just ready, and then the ball was hit, and I've told my couple people before, like I kind of just floated to that ball. Like I don't know if I exactly remember stepping to it and getting into a good fielding position. It kind of just came to me, and it was like you almost kind of know that was it before you even field it. Kind of just field it, and then as soon as it left my hand, I was like, all right, like that was it. Like we're gonna finish up this double play, and then it's like pure excitement. Just kind of you're just running around going crazy, like throwing a glove, throwing a hat, just pure ecstatic.
Jack, I knew when it got hit to you, it was over. I turned off my TV. I ripped it off the wall.
You couldn't watch the rest. It threw
Yeah.
the drink through the TV.
Yeah.
Just decided that was
Kicked the dog. It was a wrap.
it.
Um,
Oh yeah, that was cool.
I mean, it's probably, I guess, what you can really attribute to that feeling or being able to get that situation and just like it's effortless is you go back to every fall, the hard work that you're putting in, taking ground balls one after the other. And to be honest, that's as routine of a play as you probably make on a day-to-day basis. Hit right at you, you're turning, making the throw over, and you guys are rolling it up for two. Sure, you've probably done that 1,000 times every year. And that's probably the reason why, that practice makes perfect thing, because it prepares you for the situation where you just do it. Like, it's just like the reaction. So, the next clip I want to play you is obviously like the big clip.
Brannigan touches this one deep left field. Notre Dame has done it again, and the Irish take the lead.
So my question to you is all right, are you thinking home run? And before the pitch is thrown, what is the approach to the ball? What are you thinking?
Yeah, so kind of like we said, Burns was doing his thing. We were down 3-1. He was shutting us down. We didn't really have a lot going on, and kind of get the double in the inning. And I'm like, all right, like we got to start chipping away here because you're running out of outs, you're running out of time to kind of mount the comeback. And then hit the home run to tie it, and it's kind of like pure excitement, but you kind of got to lock it back in there. So hit the home run in front of me. I kind of step back up to the plate, like try not to think about the chaos that's going on in the dugout behind me, just kind of trying to stay locked in. Right away you kind of think like, oh, this would be cool if we went back to back right here. But trying to just slowing down the heartbeat. So saw the first pitch, saw it well, took it, strike one. Felt good about it. Slider. I actually got a slider again the next pitch. Hit a home run, but it was foul. So kind of like hit that one. I was like, oh, like, did I just hit a home run? And then I kind of started fade a little bit. I'm like, all right, no worries. Like, all the pressure is kind of off me. Like, if the end of the day, if I get out, we're still going to the field. It's 3-3. We're no longer down. He threw another slider away. Took ball one. So the first three pitches were all sliders. And, I kind of just guessed. I was like, all right, they got me a couple of times earlier in the weekend on a fastball up. Just threw me 3 straight sliders in the at-bat. Kind of just guessed fastball up. He threw it. And, like, as it was on the way, I was like, all right, I'm going to hit this hard. Like, made the contact and then kind of just, like, blacked out. Like, knew it was a home run right away.
Wow.
Started running around the bases a little bit. I was like, I just hit a home run. We just took the lead. Just floated basically to, like, second base.
You did a lot of floating in that inning, man. So I have to ask, did you think at that point, like, obviously you get into the dugout, like it's chaos. Do you think I just put us into Omaha? Was that the thought? Because
so that wasn't my thought right away, because Tennessee is such a great offensive team. My thought was like, all right, that was big. Like, now we got the lead, like we can play with the lead. Kind of obviously tough as a team to kind of give up back-to-back home runs and give up the lead like that. So we knew it would be kind of deflating for them. But I didn't really think like, all right, game over. Like, I knew we still had work to do. But it was just kind of like pure excitement. Like, I was like, all right, like, we got to get these last outs any way we can and just kind of hope to shut them down. So it wasn't like right away, didn't think about it. But then after the game, it was kind of like, that was a pretty big home run in hindsight.
So, Randy, are you picking up what Daniel's doing? Because he was supposed to have gone on to Omaha now, but he's staying in this
one PO joke.
And he's staying on this Tennessee series. I think he might have 5 more questions about this series just to make you live through it some more.
No, we're gonna put that to rest. We're gonna move on to Omaha. I mean, obviously, Jack, you guys go to Knoxville, and the stage is unlike any other. And now you take down the #1 team in the country, and now you're in Omaha. What was the feeling like, or was it the same feeling, going into Charles Schwab in Omaha as it was, and these other, like the previous year going to the Dude? And then this year going to Knoxville, was it the same feeling or was it something totally different that you've never felt before?
It was kind of like totally different because, and whenever we kind of played in these big stadiums, we're always the away team. So it was kind of, we had our little parent section, or like, oh, they're kind of getting loud when we do well, and it was cool. But when we got to Omaha, there was actually a really big crowd, and we kind of knew that there was kind of rumblings of a lot of people are going to come out, and so when we kind of stepped on that field the first game, we looked up in the stands, and there was a lot more people there than we all expected. So that was just like a totally different feeling. It was just a blast to play in front of all those people. And I think as the game went on, I don't know, maybe it was kind of my own personal bias, but it felt like everybody in the stadium was cheering for us. So it was just a blast. It was such a cool feeling.
They were cheering for you, and I'll explain why. If you follow anything on Twitter or social media, everybody except for Tennessee fans seem to hate Tennessee. And because Notre Dame knocked them off, y'all had a whole bunch of fans for the rest of the way. If their team was not at Omaha, they were rooting for y'all just because y'all did something that they wanted done.
So you guys,
yeah, I got that quite a bit from some fans. It was kind of like in passing, like, hey, you play for Notre Dame, right? I said, yeah. And they said right away, thank you for beating Tennessee. And I was like, yeah, thanks, I guess, like, I'm just happy to be here like this,
I mean, so. It's like, what do you say? How do you respond to that? You're like, okay, you're welcome.
Like, yeah, right. Exactly. It's like, technically I didn't really do anything for you, but it was still cool. There was a lot more people there that were rooting for us. And then obviously you throw in the added fans from that. So it was just a blast.
So you guys, you take down Texas and then you move on to Oklahoma. You lose to Oklahoma and then lose again to Texas A&M. I mean, obviously, you had an incredible season and, getting to Omaha, that's not how you pictured it going, obviously. But is the season a failure? I mean, given what you had last year, you lost two guys really from the core of the team. The expectations were high. You met expectations. You moved to Omaha and then you came up short. And, 7 teams are going to come up short in Omaha. You were one of the 7, but is the season a failure because of that, or would you consider it overall a success?
I think it was a success. I think that, at the beginning of the year, it's kind of a weird thing in college baseball. Everybody always says, the goal is to make it to Omaha. Not a lot of teams kind of go in there saying, let's win the national championship. Obviously, once you make it to Omaha, the attention immediately shifts. But it's kind of this weird thing where all the teams, it's always, let's go to Omaha. So, I think that when you take a step back after the initial disappointment of being eliminated and kind of getting knocked out, you take a step back and it's, there's a lot to hang your hat on. It was a really good season. Obviously, Notre Dame has only been in the College World Series 2 times before this year, and it's been 20 years. So there's a lot of success that we're really happy with. The initial disappointment of losing is always there. And, I think you can do more. But, when you take a step back, it's the thing that we're going to always remember is going to Omaha and winning that first game and, beating Tennessee to get to Omaha. So those moments will always kind of take the precedent over any negative. So I think that the season was definitely a success.
Jack, it's my fault, man. I only watched the one game in Omaha and then I had to bounce out, and then y'all lost after that. I should have stayed there because when I watched y'all did just fine.
Yeah, I know. Like, good luck charm, and you kind of just left us out to dry, man.
But my wife would have divorced me if I didn't come home and help her move the house. So you know what I mean? I got to make my priorities right.
Yeah, right. You got to make a sacrifice every once in a while. It's okay. I'll forgive you.
So Omaha, you mean you got a lot at stake now. I mean, you obviously have to. That's a tough feeling, but you kind of got to turn the page quickly because now, I mean, you're looking at the draft, and depending on where you look, like you're in the top 200, you're 140 to 160 depending on who you're talking to or what site you're looking at, listed as a pitcher and an infielder. What do you think the projection is for you, and what do you think your ultimate, like, where are you looking to go?
At the end of the day, wherever it ends up happening, if it does end up happening, it's just a blessing to be there and a blessing to be given an opportunity to play professional baseball. So I'm not really putting a ton of focus on it. And, the Browns kind of, at the end of the day, it's not a huge deal for me. It's just kind of trying to find the right fit and trying to make the best decision for me and for my family. So the best decision is to go back to school, then I'll go back to school. And if the right opportunity presents itself in the draft, like I'll just be ecstatic no matter what. I'm not really getting bogged down in certain slot or location or whatever it is. I'm just looking for the right opportunity and kind of just trying to make the best decision for myself and my family.
Well, man, whether it's pitcher, infielder, whatever the opportunity arises, whether that's, being drafted and living your dream or going back to school, man, we wish you nothing but the very best, dude. And like, it's awesome to hear your story. It's great to finally have somebody on from Notre Dame, but, more importantly, somebody who like was a big factor in where you guys ended up this season, man. So kudos to you, man, and you're a great dude, and we wish you nothing but the best.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you guys for having me on.
All right. Well, we ain't done just yet. We got to play a game. So
All right.
a game called This or That. And basically there's only two rules. We give you a couple options. You can't say neither and you can't say both. You down to play?
All right, let's do it.
All right. So we're going to start easy. Pizza or tacos?
Pizza.
All right. So since you pitch and hit, I got to know, would you rather pitch a no-hitter or hit the cycle?
I'm going to go no-hitter.
No. All right. I don't know, man. After I watched Arenado hit the cycle the other day, it just looks like so much fun.
Yeah, but they
I
lost.
mean, both of those are pretty cool, but
Yeah, they
lost. Did he hit the cycle? If you pitch a no, probably not losing.
Yeah, it's tough to pitch a no and lose.
The Pirates did. The Pirates did.
Pirates did it this year. Yeah.
Well, that's because they're the Pirates.
Yeah.
All right. Pick a movie: Rudy or The Sandlot.
Sandlot.
I'm so surprised. Like, do people?
Notre Dame has disowned you.
Yeah, dude. But I wonder that because we've watched and Rudy, probably the three of us. I can't guaranteed speak for the other two, but I watched Rudy so many times. Do like people up north and associated with Notre Dame? Do they probably watch it as much, if not more, or is it one of those things that it's kind of y'all's tradition, so y'all don't watch it as much?
So I feel like it's a big thing where if you show up to Notre Dame and they're like, "Hey, have you ever seen Rudy?" and you say no, they're like, "You have to watch it. Like, you have to watch it." So I personally have seen it. My dad showed it to me when I was a kid. I've seen quite a few times. But it's funny you bring it up. That's always like the first thing whenever we go somewhere on the road. It's right away. It's Rudy was offsides or some sort of Rudy joke. That's always the number one chirp from opposing fans. So that's kind of funny because it's like on campus, it's not like a huge deal as much as everybody thinks it is. So.
Well, both are fantastic movies, but I agree with you. I watched The Sandlot last night with my son for 4th of July, so I'm with you. This one will be interesting because, you are smart. Would you rather be funny or would you rather be smart?
I'm going to go with smart. That's a tough one, but I think I have to go with smart there.
Ain't nothing wrong with that. All right. So this one sometimes seems like a simple question, but everybody's got their own thing. Would you rather be at a really nice pool or would you rather be at the beach?
I'm gonna go with a really nice pool. The salt water gets you. I don't know if I can do the salt water that much. I think the really nice pool is always a good time.
Ain't nothing wrong with that. If you ever get down to Tampa, you can go to Daniel's pool and he'll play you in some horse on the basketball goal and he'll embarrass you and make you not want to come to his house ever again like he did me.
I'm hooping out there. And nobody coming in my home and beat me.
I'll be there in 2 weeks.
Oh.
So Jack, I got to bring it up because it's been, I don't know, it's probably been like 2 seasons since I brought it up. I sat out there in his pool and I practiced because I'm not going to lose this guy. And I'm thinking that we're going to shoot inside the pool. Well, as soon as the game starts, he walks around the outer side of the pool and takes all his shots and hits 5 straight and just ends me like that. And I was like, bro, I've been practicing in the pool. He said, I never said I was shooting in the pool. So
Jack,
everyone knows the shots in the pool are the easiest.
Yeah. Jack,
once you step out, it's a different game.
You know what's cute is he thought he could win. He thought, like, I could see he was sitting there getting close, like doing layups in the pool, and he's like, all right, I got this. And I could just see the confidence building, and I just couldn't wait to just burst that.
Oh yeah, I love that. No one comes into your pool and bosses you around.
That's right.
Feelings are still hurt, never coming back.
I'll
All
be
right.
down.
So here, yeah, I'm
You gonna take one too.
Yeah. I'm gonna take your pride with me, cuz.
All
I'm
right.
gonna do what Jack did to Tennessee. Taking
Ooh.
snatching souls.
Ooh. All right, Jack, here comes the 3 tough questions. We've done all the easy questions. Would you
All right.
rather save 100 strangers or just saved one loved one?
I go with 100 strangers.
Oh,
That's tough. That's tough though.
but you're the first one. I'm proud of you. I'm proud of you because that's a very selfless act. Daniel, Randy, do either of y'all have any issue with our first guest actually taking the strangers?
I don't really like people. That's just strangers. I'm gonna go with a loved one.
That's
But
a
no,
good
I
point, but
got no issue. But I hope that your brothers or your father, grandfather, uncle, mom. Hope nobody's listening.
yeah, well, he said loved one. He never said,
Oh, yeah, I didn't put a
obviously
specific one
So
on
you,
there.
you
there's
so you
no
don't-
specific,
so
but
you
I
don't
didn't
love
say,
your
hey,
family?
save your. I didn't say,
No,
hey,
I love
save
my
your
I'm
mom.
family.
just kidding. I'm just
That,
kidding.
that's wrong, Randy. I can't say love you or save your mom or 100 strangers.
No,
Then that
I'm
puts a
just
whole
kidding.
emphasis on it.
if we're throwing like specific names out there, it totally changes it.
No,
But,
I'm not. I'm just messing with you, Jack.
All
Oh,
right.
that was a tough one. That was a tough one.
I like your answer. You're a selfless guy. All right. So would you rather be the hero or the villain?
I mean, clearly the hero, right? He's gonna save
I gotta
100.
go. I gotta go with the hero. I gotta go with the hero.
Who's your favorite superhero?
I think I gotta go with Batman.
Very
answer.
solid
Batman,
answer.
I mean,
Good answer.
all the gadgets, the cars and stuff. The Dark Knight's one of my favorite movies, so I gotta go with Batman.
Solid.
I got in an argument with my 4-year-old the other day that the Dark Knight is not a superhero. So I used to have this cute little 4-year-old, and I don't know where he's been lately, but he said he's just a rich guy with a lot of toys. I'm like, he picks Spider-Man, Jack. So I'm not saving him if it's 100 strangers.
Spider-Man's a good pick though. The recent movies are pretty good, but I'm a Batman guy. I don't know.
Me too.
I'm a villain.
I
I'm
think
a villain
Batman.
guy.
I think Batman kind of goes with the 100 strangers. Obviously lost a loved one, started
is
saving
true.
all the strangers. So
Well,
maybe I just connect with Batman a little bit more.
Batman is the reason why I'm villain. Like all the villains from Batman are awesome. Like give me the Joker and the Riddler and all that. I'm down. But let's not avoid this last question, Jack. We're gonna get into
The
it.
Riddler. The Riddler's the worst villain ever.
Jim Carrey played the Riddler when we were kids. You better watch your mouth. Jack probably wasn't even born when that movie was made.
You should have gone with Bane. Bane is cool.
Oh, I love Bane.
Yeah, I figured you'd be a big Bane
he
guy.
has
If you're
an
bringing up the
unhealthy
villains.
obsession with Tom Hardy, so don't even
Yeah.
bring it up.
No, yeah.
That's why we
actually
avoided it.
That's why I avoided Bane altogether. The guy who plays
Oh.
Bane makes it worse. So, but let's get to the hard question, man. Depending on how you answer it is how Daniel's going to address you. This is the last one. Would you rather do 10 years in a coma or 5 years in prison?
I'm gonna go 10 years in the coma.
Good answer. That's the right answer. All these jokers come on here and lie to our face. They lie about being good at basketball, and then they lie saying they're so hard they could go to jail for 5 years.
A South Sider didn't pick jail.
Nah, give me the coma. It's it'll be a little bit quicker. I don't know. I don't know exactly how a coma works, but I feel like it'll just kind of like one day you go out, and the next day you come back, and it's like 10 years gone by. You kind of just pick up what happened. But 5 years in prison is 5 years in prison.
You're looking
Yeah.
around like, man, y'all looking old.
Yeah. Dude, we've had multiple guys from Tennessee on the show, and all of them said they would take prison. And these are the same dudes I watch boohoo tears when you hit a bomb against them. And I just looked, I was like, that ain't prison worthy at all.
It's
But-
it's tough. I was in the same position last year, so
Yeah.
I can't knock it. And it's tough when the season ends. It's
Daniel
always
and-
tough.
When the Tennessee guys tell us they're not coming back on because they heard this episode and you take
When this episode, when Jack's not on here, me and you talking, bro.
Yeah, no, the guys are gonna listen, and they're gonna be no more Tennessee guys on the podcast. They're gonna be coming after me, and they're gonna be coming after you guys.
Not me.
We
Well,
sold
yeah, not Randy, but
we sold
Jimmy
that
and
stock
DB are
high.
done.
We sold that stock high, Jack.
Wow.
I'm kidding. Every guy, honestly, that we've had from the past 3 seasons from the University of Tennessee has been amazing. All of them are really good dudes in their own right, very elite athletes like yourself. But man, before you get out of here, anything you want to plug or promote?
I got nothing, but I will add on the Tennessee thing. All the guys were super cool when I talked to them during the games. Nothing against them. Obviously, they were unfortunately on the losing end, and that we were kind of on that same end last year against Mississippi State. So all those guys were great, but I guess the only shout out I can give is to Cameron James for hooking me up with Jim. So thanks for having me on, guys.
Yeah, man, dude. If you need anything, reach out to us. We would love to help you out any kind of way. You let us know. We're here for you, dude.
Absolutely, thank you.
All right, that's Jack Brannigan, everybody. We're gonna take a break. We're gonna plug sponsors. When we come back, Randy's gonna scold me for a little bit, and then we're gonna talk headlines.